Hey everybody, welcome back to the Print 3D channel. Today is September 6th, and that means day 249 of the 3DP 365 project. And on today's episode, we printed out the cheeky monkey, but we had a little bit of a print fail on this one, so we're going to figure out what went wrong and how to fix it, so stick around. Hey everybody, welcome back, and thank you for joining me here for day 249 of the 3DP 365 project. On today's episode, we attempted to print out the cheeky monkey, and our print turned out pretty bad. This is a fail in my opinion. I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but I'll show some close-ups right now that'll show some of the banding issues that we're having right now. So I'm really not sure what's going on. I don't know if it's the printer or the filament or some other factor. In fact, you can see right behind me that we've printed quite a lot of stuff with this particular roll of Matter Hackers Pro PLA Blonde. And as you can see, I've used about a quarter of the roll, maybe about a third, between a quarter and a third of the roll. And I printed out quite a lot of stuff. And on the Wallace print that you saw a couple of days ago, I mentioned that we were having some banding when I printed out the arms in that same color filament blonde. But previous to that, we had printed out the legs on Wallace and they turned out fine. So I didn't think it was the printer. And before that, obviously we printed out Grommet the day before, and this was a really long print to print out the face and the head part, and there is no sign of banding on there. So I didn't at first expect it to be the filament, but it could be. I'm not saying it is, but it could be. And I've got a test print here. What we actually did is I ran a little test tower, and it started to show a little bit of that same banding, but this looks more like under extrusion than anything else. So I stopped the tower and I said, I'm going to run a vase print. So I ran out the vase print, which you guys saw in another episode that we ran the other day. And this was the results of that. It's using that same exact blonde filament. And my settings are all very similar. I don't go changing any of the minor parameters that involve the printing process, like retraction or extrusion multiplier or any of those other things. I usually just turn on and off top and bottom layers, infill amount, layer height, and whether or not I'm going to print vase mode. And sometimes I'll adjust the speed depending on the model that I'm printing. So this was just a typical vase print, took 1 hour and 20 minutes, no sign of the Z banding whatsoever, or the banding per se. I won't say it's on any particular axis at this point. It looks like Z banding. So what I did is I queued up the cheeky monkey. And originally I had another model plan that I was going to print, which is the trilobite. And I was having some problems with just the small detail, and I was really trying to rush it out. I didn't want to waste any time. So I was trying to rush the print and they turned out pretty bad, so I scrapped that. And I remembered the cheeky monkey model, and I decided that since I was having some problems with the brown filament printing the trilobite, that I would try the blonde filament on the cheeky monkey. Since it didn't seem to have any problem with that vase print that we did, I didn't see any banding issues. And one of my subscribers, I can't remember your name, honestly, I don't remember your name, sorry about that, pointed out that you may not see Z banding or banding issues when you print a vase print. So I thought, okay, well, the cheeky monkey will give us an option to see if we see any banding. And lo and behold, the whole model is actually covered with it. I'm hoping you guys can see this, but like I showed, I'll show you some close-ups here, and I'll put them up full screen here while we're talking. And you can definitely see all the banding that's going on with this print. So I emailed the wonderful people over at gCreate, who are always super helpful and get back to you on the very same day, usually within a couple hours. And they actually did. Joshua, one of their techs there, he got back to me within a couple hours with a full list of things to try. The first thing we're going to try is we're going to tighten up some of the wheels. And he was talking about the wheels that are on the cross member here for the extruder. So we're going to check those to make sure those are nice and tight. They shouldn't be freely spinning. They should roll with the extruder as it moves up. And I did notice that some of them do freely spin. They do need to be adjusted a little bit, so that may be part of the cause. The belts are all pretty tight, even though this one is a little looser than I expect it to be, but it's not a problem. I don't think that would actually cause the banding. The belt on the bed itself, that is super tight. It's like guitar string tight, but not over tight that it would cause problems. The bed is secure. It doesn't wobble in any way. So the other thing to check would be those wheels. And obviously, at the bottom of the email from the guys over at gCreate, they did say, try switching brands of filament. I am currently being sponsored by Matter Hackers for the 365 project, as you guys know. But I have to do some diagnostics. So that means I'm going to probably switch brands of filament. But I am going to still use Matter Hackers filament because, as you will see when I show you, this is the blonde filament, and you can see the spool design on this one that actually holds the filament, the spool design. This is a roll of silver, which is Matter Hackers Pro PLA silver. You can clearly see that these two filament spools, the actual spools themselves, are different. And I do know that they source their filament from the best manufacturer to get their Pro PLA line, which gives us the best results. So this is actually a different brand of filament. I doubt it's made by the same company. So I will try some of the silver first. Before we go tearing apart the printer and looking for any issues like that, I'll tighten up those wheels, and then I'll pop in some of the silver filament of the Pro Series PLA from Matter Hackers and give that a shot. And we'll talk about the results of that print on tomorrow's episode. So that's pretty much where we are right now as far as it goes with the printer. We have a banding issue. The banding issue seems to have started about a third of the way, a third or a quarter of the way into the roll of this particular spool of filament from Matter Hackers. And again, I am so not blaming Matter Hackers in any way for this. They are totally not being finger pointed in any way. I'm doing diagnostics. And diagnostics includes ruling out all problems in the equation until you come up with a solution. So we will tighten up the wheels and we will switch filaments, just not from a different company, just from a different supplier that Matter Hackers uses. And if that doesn't work, if it still has the banding issue, then we'll take another look at the printer and make sure that I haven't overlooked anything on the printer as far as tightening goes. And then we'll probably switch filaments just to try out the testing. But we'll talk about that at a later date when we get there. So for now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to switch over to the silver filament from Matter Hackers, and we're going to run out the Cheeky Monkey again. And the reason why I want to do that is I want to run the exact same model through the same settings. I'm not going to reload it up on the SD card. I'm going to leave it as is, even with the problems. And there were some problems with the print beyond the banding. Now these angles here on the arm are pretty steep, so I didn't use any support material. I just wanted to print it, and I was actually a little bit in a hurry because this was about 1 a.m. and we were trying to get this to print. So on the arms here, you can see that there's some serious problems there with some cooling issues. So I would love to tune the G-code a little bit, but I've heard some people talk about when you reset the model through Simplify 3D, you get different G-code. And I restarted my computer, so it'll be a fresh opening of the application. So there is a good chance that it may generate some different G-code for my printer to print. And I don't want to take that risk. Not saying that Simplify 3D actually has that problem. I'm just saying I've heard that issue's come up before. So I'm going to use what's on the SD card, which printed this model. And we're going to load up some of that Matter Hackers Pro PLA in the color of silver. And we're going to give good old Cheeky Monkey another try. And we'll talk about that print tomorrow. Well, that about wraps it up for day 249 of the 3DP 365 project. I hope you guys join me tomorrow as we finish diagnosing what the problem is with our printer. If you're looking for ways to support the channel, check out that Matter Hackers, that Amazon, and the GearBest affiliate link down in the description. If you make a purchase through any of those links, it kicks a little bit back to the channel and it doesn't cost you a penny. And I really appreciate it. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, comment, like, and share those videos, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.